Hello everyone, Grimm here, and welcome to my Monday video. Today we are going to be dealing with the Mandela effect. I have searched the internet for the last 15 minutes, I know, a long time, trying to find some of the creepiest Mandela effects that I can. If this doesn't go as long as I would like it to, I will be adding a fictional story at the end. I will let you know if that is the case, but either way, before we get started, please like and subscribe. And here we go. My dad died a few weeks ago, and my mother sent me the church bulletin from his funeral. I clearly recall a newspaper page with Dad's picture from the police department. My name was written on the envelope, and it has been stuck to my fridge until I was able to look at it a second time. The envelope has not moved since I received it. Today I took it down and pulled out the bulletin and the newspaper page. The envelope is identical, but two different names are written in the same colored ink as before. Inside is a bulletin from the church, but not about a funeral and not mentioning my dad. And the newspaper article is about gardening. No pics of my dad anywhere, but still a page from the hometown newspaper dated the day after he died. Nobody here has touched it. Nobody here is clever enough to play such an advanced prank. My hometown is 2,000 miles away. I'm afraid to call home to see if my dad is really dead or alive. A user wrote, "My scariest Mandela effect is my cousin on my dad's side that never existed, but we have pictures of her that my mum cannot recall her name, and I tell her name and my mother says nobody in our family is named that. Just one of my scary ones. I have a few more, but this one scares me the most." A user replied, "Wow, so no one knows who she is." The OP replied, "No, and I actually spoke to my aunt who was her mum. She had 3 daughters. This daughter was her youngest and 2 years older than me. We have pictures of her. My mum keeps saying that it must have been a neighbor's daughter. This cousin could be my older sister's twin, they look so much alike. I know her name, I know she's my cousin, but even her mum said she only had 2 daughters, and one passed away years ago." Here's the weirdest part of the story. When I first seen the pictures at my mum's house and I was naming off everyone in the picture, my mother looked dead straight at me and said, "That's not your cousin, and we never had someone named that in our family." When I told her it was this specific aunt's of ours daughter, my mother said no, she had 2 daughters. My mother said their names. I remember them as well. I said, well, maybe then I am mistaken and that is my uncle's daughter. My mum said no, they were not able to have kids because his wife had to have a hysterectomy from cancer before she could have kids. Those are my father's only 2 living brothers and sisters. One of his brothers died in a war, and one of his sisters died in infancy, and another of his sisters died at 16 after being hit by a car on her bike. So where the heck did that cousin come from, and why does nobody else remember her? I cannot ask my dad because he has dementia and barely remembers me, let alone anyone else. I questioned my mother about this cousin again a few months ago. My mother was looking at the pictures I was describing, and that cousin is no longer in the picture. Honestly, it's been weird. My older sister remembers we had a cousin close to our age on my dad's side, but she also could not remember her name. And then I say her name to my sister, and she does what Mum does and just says, "No, that's not a name I remember." So either all of my family have really bad memories, or I am losing my mind. Another user replied, "Is it possible something nefarious happened to her and your mother is aware? The that is not your cousin part was odd, but in a dangerous way. Maybe something bad happened to her, or she was blacklisted from the family." A new user commented, "Coming to this post late, but yeah, I got the same vibe, like for everyone's safety she never existed kind of vibe. Good luck, OP. I don't think that this is a ME though." The first commenter replied, "Okay, so she was in these pictures and you and your mum had a conversation about this and now she's gone from the pictures?" OP replied, "According to my mother, the pictures no longer have my cousins in them. I want to see it for myself and plan on it soon. I asked my mum to scan the pictures and send them to my email. She does not have a scanner on her printer. She promised that when she comes to visit to bring these pictures, I will not believe it until I see it myself." The final message was from a new user to the conversation, and they say, "Update us when you finally see the pictures again." The OP replied, "I will." An OP writes, "I remember a story of a woman who said that all of a sudden her husband's recollection of the past together changed from hers, and their relationship changed after that. So a couple of years later, I remember talking to my wife about something that happened during one of our dates. Not a minor thing, but a significant relationship shift thing. And her recollection of it was different than mine. It was a different restaurant, different people involved, different outcome. I immediately thought of that woman's story. So I started asking her more questions, and most were the same memories as mine. But some had just minor changes. Some might say insignificant changes, but changes nonetheless. One with photo proof involved me and her in an event where I remember a kid spilled orange Fanta on my white sweater, but it turned out to be her white sweater that got spilled on. And I remember being pissed and spending 5 minutes in the restroom trying to clean it before giving up. I remember taking it off and guys walking in and out of the restroom giving me weird looks and advice. The night ended early that day because of it. Now, it turns out she has a photo of her wearing a white sweater with orange soda spilled on it. It was her who spent 10 minutes in the restroom cleaning, and the night continued late into the evening because she didn't care. I also never had a white sweater, apparently. On the photo, I was wearing a black shirt, and there was no evidence of me ever owning a white sweater. My scariest Manila effect were those, because what if you find out your spouse is someone completely different than the person you married? Thankfully, for me, that wasn't the case. A user replied, "Yes, my husband and I have been married for 16 years, and since about 2 years in, we'll remember activities, conversations differently. It's not a disturbance thing either. We'll be remembering something that happened a month previous, and he'll insist it happened differently." An early example, and one that sticks out to me because I had proper proof, was the 2007 Utah quarter. They had announced a few designs on the news asking for resident input. We were young and bored and had a great decision, resulting in writing in with a number of reasons for the golden spike design. We received a nice letter from the governor's wife for weighing in, and it referenced the golden spike design. When the winning design was announced, the golden spike, I was excited with the fact that the state agreed with us. My husband looked at me like I was daft and started going off about how we supported the beehive. He went on about all the reasons that the spike was stupid and the beehive was the right choice. He was dumbfounded when I pulled out the letter confirming we had written for the golden spike. He remembered the conversation in the letter quite clearly as pro-beehive. ETA, I don't know if one of us keeps slipping back and forth or what. I'm just glad that the differences have been about minimal things at this point. A new user replied to the OP, I agree with you so much. Whether it has to do with a widely shared Mandela effect or something personal to me, discrepancies in the memories shared between me and the people I'm closest to are the weirdest, most uncomfortable part of the whole phenomenon. Example, my ex-husband does not seem to be affected by the Mandela effect at all, at least the ones that I've asked him about. We were together for more than 20 years. There is a couple of Mandela effects I would have bet my life on and have a clear anchor memory to go along with it, that my ex was a part of, yet nope, he remembers everything as it is. The implication is disturbing. Not the fact that I misremembered something, that's nothing, but if I misremembered it, what is this memory? I do not believe I have fabricated a random, meaningless event that includes my ex to somehow convince myself that what I incorrectly remembered, say someone's name, as being real rather than just saying, oops, I was wrong about it. I've experienced the personal memory discrepancies too, before and after discovering the Mandela effect. I don't know about anyone else, but after finding out about the Mandela effect, it made me rethink some really crazy disagreements that the ex and I had over the years. The kind where what he remembered or was arguing about made no sense, like an exit off the interstate in a city he lived in his entire life that we passed and used frequently, not existing. It's difficult to wrap your brain around. This one isn't creepy, but it weirds me out. The Fruit Loops and the Fruit Loops change. Ages ago, I read about people saying Fruit Loops had become Fruit Loops. I had no idea which way it was and had never even brought them, but I googled it to check out what the right answer was. I saw it said Fruit Loops and I shrugged off, people insisting that it used to be called Fruit Loops, as them misremembering a duplicate or double O from loops is fine. It's Fruit Loops. They got it wrong. Then I saw a post saying it had flip-flopped back to Fruit Loops. I knew that it was fruit as I had just looked it up, so I checked again and it said Fruit Loops. Double O T. I still don't understand what happened. It wasn't my memory, as I had no investment in this one either way, but just looking into it as I did and listening to the comments that people were making on it reassured me that I was right when I thought that it was fruit. However, obviously, with it being the double OT, I was wrong, and that kind of still weirds me out. A couple of Mandela effects that seem to really throw me through is the ones where my friends have been having memories of me that I never participated in. They swear I went with them to an amusement park and I recall the trip, but I never went. I was upset because no one even told me about the trip, but they swear I was with them, which again freaks me out because I also remember them apologizing for not inviting me. And no, they're not playing a cruel prank on me. They genuinely talk about the events like I was there, and I constantly remind them that I was not. And then they get confused and start trying to think back. Honestly, the whole thing is a little scary. The original poster of this wrote, I had a creepy experience regarding the Mandela effect. First and foremost, I am very new to Reddit. I heard about the Mandela effect for the first time 2 nights ago. I was browsing YouTube and saw Shane Dawson's video about conspiracy theories, and in it, that video he mentioned the Mandela effect. So naturally, I started looking into it, and I was led to all of these Reddit posts. I've been looking through them, and it's crazy how much I relate to a few of these. And I've always just blamed creepy things that happened to me on my poor memory, because I never even knew the Mandela effect existed. Anyways, I must have been searching and reading for about an hour that night, and then I found this article full of amazing information. But about a minute into reading, my computer inexplicably crashed. The top part of my screen went black and the bottom part turned to this grey, staticky looking glitch. I have a MacBook Pro 15-inch and it's fairly new. This has never happened and it's never done this before. And it is a weird thing to happen at the exact moment. Another thing to mention is while reading, I started feeling very paranoid, like someone was watching me. I don't necessarily think it's anything paranormal, but like, what the hell? This is really sketchy, and I also noticed that these past few days my dog has been doing this new thing where she stands at the top of the staircase and just stares down into the dark dining room when it's clearly empty. By the way, it's been just my mum and I for the past few days because my dad and brother are in Vegas coming home today. So yeah, if anyone has had any similar experiences to this, or has anything interesting to say, it would be really helpful. Thanks. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm doing something wrong. I joined Reddit literally just last night. A user replied to the OP with their own comment. It goes, I also just discovered the Mandela effect this week, and I get what you mean about feeling paranoid. I have never been this confused in my entire life, and I'm not used to feeling this way. There is something that is messing with me the most, though, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or even if I believe in coincidence anymore. That is the timing. I have had depression since about 2011 2012. I took medication back then for about 6 months and then stopped because I felt I could deal with my situation on my own. Since then, I had been pretty good. Not 100% of my old self, but in a way still better than I was in comparison to before I had seen the doctor. However, things kind of went to crap at the beginning of this year, and on literally the 1st of January, I woke up feeling extremely anxious. I told my partner that I didn't feel right. I was afraid, and this wasn't going to be a good year, and bad things were going to happen. That feeling of impending doom has just gotten worse in the past 8 months, and I have been in almost constant fight or flight mode. Part of what made it worse was dealing with the public at work. My job is heavily customer service oriented, and I speak one on one with dozens of people almost every day. A few weeks into the year, people suddenly began telling me how weird things felt all of a sudden, how time felt like it was going faster, how it felt like they were in a dream, how the weather was acting odd, etc. My anxiety intensified, and soon I was having panic attacks. A few weeks ago, I decided I couldn't take it anymore and made an appointment to see my doctor. He diagnosed me with major anxiety and panic disorder and prescribed me an SSIR that has stopped my thoughts from racing, and I can finally think clearly and concentrate again. Everything was going great for a week, then I stumbled upon this sub when I accidentally hit a link for it. Now I'm back to not knowing what to think again. I am certain the Beatles' Revolver album never had the photoshopped looking faces, and that the collar on Wednesday's logo had been changed. It used to look like it said Mum with ruffles and the little circles. And I watched a documentary a few months ago about JFK's assassination, and I'm positive there were only 4 people in the car and only one was wearing pink. I don't know what this means. I find it hard to believe I'm in a different dimension or stuck in some matrix. I also find it hard to blow any theory off entirely because the only thing I know for sure is that I don't know everything. That is what has me so paranoid. I don't know crap. For every answer, I have 1,000 questions. What does any of this mean to me? Is this coincidental timing, a message that I am on the right path to finding answers? Is this a warning that I shouldn't be using my pills to alter the way I think? I'm going back to my doctor on Wednesday for a follow-up, and I will ask if paranoia is some sort of side effect, even though it started when I found the sub, not when I started taking the pills. One thing I can tell you is that things have felt weird for me since the start of this year, and I'm not the only one. Other people are still mentioning things that are out of the ordinary in casual conversation, and it makes it harder and harder not to question my memory and the way things were before. OP writes, is this a Mandela effect or a glitch? So, long story short, I've never seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show all the way through. As a kid, I saw the lips at the start and got freaked out and have refused to watch it since. My girlfriend comes from a family of film fans, and at the weekend I was with them discussing films. One of my girlfriend's sisters mentioned, due to her love of both Tim Curry and Meatloaf, that the Rocky Horror is one of her favorite of all time films. She asked me if I had seen it, and I told her no, and explained how the lips had scared me as a child. After finding this amusing, she asked me, what about the lips scared me? So I explained that I found them creepy. Then I said what I remembered, which was the tarantula came out of the mouth, and that was it. I couldn't deal with it. The whole family looked at me confused, so I explained that the thing I remembered most is a tarantula coming out of the lips at one point. They then explained to me that this never happened. There is no tarantula in that sequence. The tarantula is pretty much the sole reason I've refused to watch it. I'm arachnophobic, and anything like that for me is terrifying. So, how come a distinct memory I have appears to be incorrect? I haven't watched the sequence to check since the conversation in that weekend, but I believe them because they all assured me I was remembering it incorrectly. Even my girlfriend was confused. So, is it a glitch? Or a Mandela effect? Or just plain wrong? Who knows? In a new post, the original poster stated parallel jumping and the Mandela effect. There are several stories, a lot like mine, that seem to be trending on Reddit at the moment. Like many of you, I've had similar experiences that I'd like to share. I encourage you to share your stories as well. I have posted this story as a comment on another thread, but the purpose of me retelling the story here is because of the concept of parallel jumping. For many years, I used to work at this popular theme park in North Carolina. When I first started working there, I was maybe 16 or 17. It was as a chainsaw clown for the annual Halloween event. During this time of year, we only open and operate in the weekends. I would carpool with a group of friends from the city we lived in, about an hour away from the park. There would usually be about 5 of us, squished into a jeep. One night after work, we started heading back home, getting on the highway at about 2 a.m. I was in the back seat, sitting in the middle. I remember very distinctly being wide awake because I had just been working all night and was still full of energy. We were having a conversation about something random when all of a sudden we lose control of the car and it swerves very sharply into oncoming traffic of the highway. I remember the sheer panic as we were flying towards the front end of the semi-truck and we hit it head on. For the record, time didn't really seem to slow down, and I didn't have any part of my life flash before my eyes. The very instant before we hit the truck, I suddenly wake up in the back seat of the car, having the exact same conversation we were having only seconds before. It was as if everything rewinded by a few seconds. Before reading similar stories and experiences, I came to the conclusion that I must have somehow fallen asleep and had a dream, even though that really didn't seem likely. After researching some ideas and possibilities, I came to the conclusion that I jumped to a different timeline/reality. I believe in the multiverse theory and other similar theories. I thought maybe I was going crazy, but I see now I'm not alone. With these experiences, I wonder if certain major events that we say are the subject to or of the Mandela effect are actually just the slightly different rules or histories of previous timelines we've experienced. For example, maybe before this situation I really did grow up with the Berenstain Bears, then jumped and now I actually grew up with the Berenstain Bears. Now, obviously, the Berenstain Bears is just a blank generic example, and I am in no way using it as proof to justify the theory. I am simply using it to explain the concept and start the conversation. Maybe you had a similar experience, and suddenly this vivid memory you had turns out to have never actually happened. There are a lot of these type of examples that could apply. Just a thought. Well, what do you think? Could these be instances that are connected? Congratulations, everyone. You made it to the end. Grimm here. Thank you very much for coming along on this Mandela Effect Monday. I won't be doing a Mandela Effect Monday every Monday. I'm gonna keep trying to change it up, but I'm gonna keep trying to keep the titles similar. So maybe Murder Monday, Mystery Monday, something like that, so that it's a little bit fun and the topics of the stories are generally about what I am releasing. We'll see how it goes. It may just be random, but hey, I'm not going to complain. Anyway, I'm not going to drag this out. Thank you very much for coming along. If you liked today's video, please remember, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below because it really does help me out. You guys have done so much to boost my channel so far and lately that I am just so proud of the community that we're slowly building. Well, today's word to put into the comments is going to be free. You can either do it just by commenting free or make a comment that includes free in it, just to have a little bit of fun, yeah? Well, as always, I'm Grimm. Be safe wherever you are. Have a good or amazing night and day. And I'm, well, signing off.